Um, oh, hi, it's Phil. I'm here again. I've been doing some writing, working on the post-human condition, and magic and other special abilities are like on the forefront of my mind. So before we get there, let me just mention that this wonderful image, this painting, um, is by my friend Journeyman. Um, and it's an illustration for the upcoming Lamentations of the Flame Princess uh, book called Punchline, about a troupe of satanic clowns. So if you see this guy, don't follow him into the woods. All right. Um, but now let's talk about magic in most RPGs. Going back, going back to D&D. Um, there were um, magic in RPGs has always been too um, it's always been too formulaic. Yeah, there's been a desire on the part of designers, you know, to make everything, not everything, but to make magic fit a certain pattern. Um, and sometimes you see this in fantasy novels as well. Um, so there's rules about magic, and magic ends up reading like algebra. And that's that's the predictability of magic is one of the things that contrasts with experience that I want from magic as a player. And just let me give you some examples. Um, in D&D, if you're a wizard, going back to the earliest editions of the game, just about, if you shoot a magic missile at someone, you do what? Depending on the edition, something, and you go. Okay. Um, certain D&D variants have changed magic missile somewhat, um, or change spell casting, but that's the basics of spell casting and magic missile. And that's a very common first level spell. Okay. Now there have been some cool things, and some outliers. Like for example, in some games, in some D&D variants, you actually have to make a roll to see if you can cast that spell. But the spell effect is often pretty much the same. Just a little line, just a little. It could be summarized as a little stat line, really. And I think that that's a shame and a wasted opportunity. Another example is magic weapons or magic items in general. You know, especially the amount of lore put into them. That sometimes these magic weapons have so much lore. You're like, wow, that is really cool. This great hero had a sword that was enchanted by a wizard, and first of all, that should already be amazing. But you know, um, and he used it to slay giants who are threatening his homeland. And what does that mean? It's a +1 sword, +3 versus giants. Okay. Um, and that is that's so underwhelming to me. Um, what I would love to see in a magic item, and again, or in a spell, um, is much more customization. Um, You know, sometimes we look at spells in these books and we're like, wow, that's a whole lot of spells listed. But I'd rather see fewer spells with more text per spell devoted to the strange and awful things that happen when you cast that spell, whether you succeed or fail. You know, you see this, by the way, and now I'm blanking and I'm live and I'm sorry, but there's a Lamentations of Flame Princess product that's all spells and they're all strange. And I feel like that should be the standard. You know, how many spells do you really need? You know, how many ways does a wizard need to blow something up? And if a wizard decides that he needs something that shoots cold instead of fire, you know, maybe you bust out the old, you know, AD&D book or something with spell research rules and let him research the cold spell, but you know that shoots cold missiles instead of fire missiles. You know, but please, if you do that, try and get more creative than just, you know, it does as much damage as the flame missile, but it's cold. You know, maybe with all these spells, maybe you have to bargain for it. You saw that in the Al-Qadim setting in D&D for the Sha'ir character class, who had to bargain with genies or imps or something like that to get his spells. That is really cool. On the effects side, one of my favorite games, not an OSR game by any stretch of the imagination, but one of my favorite games is Mage. And one of the reasons I love it is because you can improvise your spells. And you have to make your spells fit what your wizard believes is how what your wizard believes about the way that magic works in the world. You know, but so I like that improvisation quality, but still and that's fun at the table. But from the point of view of people designing a game, we should design things that match the coolness of what we're imagining. You know, and that means that when someone shoots a fireball, I mean, a really good question is, where did that fireball come from? You know, and what are the effects of that fireball, you know, besides doing hit point damage? I remember way back when fireball could burn people's equipment and stuff. That kind of got lost as the game progressed, but I think it really would matter if the fire comes from the elemental plane of fire, if the fire comes from hell, if the fire comes from heaven, you know, if the fire comes from the wizard's mind, you know, if the fire actually has a technological side, because, you know, are you playing with scientists as wizards to some degree? You know, are you throwing the equivalent of like Greek fire into things? You know, these, do you see what I'm saying? These would create different versions of fireball based on the wizard, you know, and by necessity, it would either make the spell section of games really huge, or you make the spell section, you make the number of spells really small, but each spell is unique, you know. And for magic items, those items should match the lore, and there should always be lore, even if the players don't have any idea of what the lore is. You know, that wand doesn't come with like a pamphlet, but there should be lore. And as they discover more of the lore, they can discover not just more of the powers, but maybe maybe they find the curse of the item first, or the difficulty of it first. You know, they find this glowing magical sword, you know, um, and you know, and they don't know what it does. And then the next time they run into giants, the giants freak out and go berserk and start pummeling the fighter with that sword with rocks. But then he's deflecting rocks with this magic sword. So how is that even possible? No other magic sword deflects rocks like that. It's that kind of thing. So then you can write that up, right? You can say like this causes a fear effect in giants, and it's good at deflecting rocks that they throw. That's completely different stuff than just +3 to hit a giant. I got to tell you, giants have a lot of hit points. +2 to damage and over a regular magic weapon, and +2 to hit over a regular magic weapon. It's pretty good, but that's not going to strike fear in the heart of giants. Maybe when it crits, it kills a giant. Boom, dead. Maybe it forces you into berserker rage against giants, etc. There's so many there's so much nuance you can add to these weapons, or to these items. And again, you don't need a huge list of them. If your game only has 20 or 30 items listed instead of 200 or 300 or more, I don't even know how many D&D has, but each of those has their own story, their own set of powers, their own rules. Really, what you're going to do, what the game master is going to do, is he or she's going to give the players fewer items. Maybe photocopy one of those pages. Here, you've done all the research. This is what your sword now entails. Take a look at this page. And who needs, at that point, more than one magic sword? You've got your badass magic sword. And it's got its own personality, and its lore is reflected in the rules. Similarly, how many spells does a wizard need? And again, people who play wizards tend to like a little more complexity anyways. So sure, maybe they get more spells, and that's fine. They get, they have these effects, but still they don't have to choose from cookie cutter effects, and the stuff can be customized as well, again, by the designer or by the GM. And I guess I want to see magic return to something idiosyncratic. When I'm reading a book and a wizard is doing strange stuff, I love it. And in contrast, I'm no fan of the Harry Potter style of magic, in which everybody knows how magic works. I mean, it's presented as another technology, and it's too bad because Rowling comes up with a bunch of cool effects, but they never seem mysterious to me. It's like, contrast that with Ursula K. Le Guin's The Wizard of Earthsea, in which magic is primal, elemental, mysterious. It's about in that series is about self-discovery. Give me the magic from the Wizard of Earthsea series any day before the Harry Potter magic, before the magic in video games, which unfortunately typically has to be cookie cutter. So that's my little rant. Again, the takeaway. I invite you to enter the woods. They are lovely, dark, and deep. just as your magic should be. All right, bye.